At our daughter's graduation, my husband vanished mid-ceremony. I thought he was just taking a call. When I checked his location, he was in a hotel 5 blocks away. I drove there and found him with a woman he'd met at his gym, laughing about how easy it was to pretend. I waited until he got home, then handed him a flash drive containing videos of every affair he thought I didn't know about. The next morning, his office received copies too. This happened last year, but I still think about it almost every day. Our daughter, Ava, was graduating high school in Austin. I'd been looking forward to it for months. She's our only child. Smart, kind, driven. The kind of kid you feel proud to just know, let alone raise. She'd gotten accepted into UT Austin with a scholarship. She was going to study biomedical engineering. That day was supposed to be all about her. We got there early. The school rented out a large auditorium downtown to fit all the families. Derek, my husband, was wearing the shirt Ava picked out for him. She had this thing where she liked to style both of us for her big events. I wore a pale blue wrap dress she found on sale at Dillard's. She said I looked classy. Derek seemed a little off that morning. I thought maybe he was nervous or stressed. He kept checking his phone in the car. I asked if everything was okay, and he just said, "Work's on fire again." Nothing new there. He works in finance. Always has some client freaking out. We found our seats near the front. The whole row was filled with family, my parents, his sister, even Ava's godmother. Everyone was smiling, snapping pictures. About 20 minutes in, Derek leaned over and said he had to take a call. "It's that San Antonio account," he whispered. "Can't ignore this one." I nodded, not thinking much of it. He left quietly. I stayed glued to the stage, watching as kids were called up one by one. 15 minutes passed. Then 30. Then 45. I looked down at my phone. No text. No missed call. Just silence. Something felt off. I opened Find My iPhone. We've had it set up since Ava started driving, mainly for safety. The dot for his phone wasn't near the building. It was 5 blocks away. At a hotel. I stared at it, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. I zoomed in. The hotel wasn't some business chain. It was one of those trendy places with a rooftop bar. I remember feeling my heart sink, like my body knew before my brain did. Still, I told myself maybe he had an emergency. Maybe he got sick. Maybe something. So I stood up, walked out without saying a word, and drove there. His truck was parked right in front. I recognized the dent on the side. He always said he'd get it fixed and never did. I parked down the street, out of sight. I didn't even know what I was going to do. I didn't plan anything. I was in my heels, still holding the graduation program in my lap. I walked inside like I belonged there. No one stopped me. I scanned the lobby, then the hallway. A man was coming out of a room, and I slipped right past the closing door before it shut fully. That's how I ended up outside room 212. I didn't even knock. I just stood there, frozen. And then I heard it. A woman's voice. "So, what did she say when you left?" Derek laughed. She didn't even blink. Said, "Good luck." God, she's still so clueless. Then the woman said, "You're lucky." My ex would have smelled it from a mile away. More laughter. My ears started ringing. My vision blurred. But I still didn't move. I don't know how long I stood there. Maybe 30 seconds. Maybe 2 minutes. My hand was shaking, but I wasn't crying. Not yet. I backed away slowly, retraced my steps, got in my car, and went back to the auditorium just in time to see the graduates throwing their caps. Ava was glowing. I hugged her like my life depended on it. When we got home that night, Derek walked in like nothing had happened. He kissed me on the cheek and said, "Sorry again about the call." It got ugly fast. I looked at him and said, "Sit down." He frowned. "Why? What's wrong?" I handed him a flash drive. He took it, looked confused. "What's this?" I didn't blink. "It's your history. All of it." I'd been collecting evidence for years. Photos. Screenshots. texts, emails. He thought he was smart, changing names in his phone, deleting apps, but I was smarter. I had everything. He opened it that night. I watched him turn pale. Watched his hands shake. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. The next morning, I mailed copies to every partner at his firm. I also sent one to HR. And his assistant, the one he thought I didn't know about? She got one too. But that wasn't all. The fallout started within 24 hours. Derek didn't go to work the next day. He stayed in bed until noon, didn't say a word to me, barely ate. He just kept pacing around the house, muttering to himself, looking at his phone like it would somehow undo everything. Around 3 p.m., he got a call from one of the partners. I heard it from the kitchen. "We've reviewed the materials sent to the office," the man said, voice cold. "We'll be placing you on immediate leave while we investigate." Derek tried to act surprised. "What materials?" "Don't insult us, Derek. They were mailed directly to each of our homes. Your name's all over them." Click. He sat down at the table like he'd been punched in the chest. I didn't say a word. I just made a cup of tea and walked right past him. That night, he started begging. "Please," he said. "Don't destroy me." I looked him in the eye. "You destroyed yourself." But here's the part one didn't see coming. He wasn't the only one with secrets. Later that week, I got a message on Facebook from a woman named Sonia. She said she saw the video I sent to Derek's firm. She'd been dating him for months. She thought he was single. Thought Ava was his niece. Sonia was a fitness instructor at Derek's gym. She sent me screenshots, their texts, their plans to move in together once everything got sorted. Then came Jessica. Another one. Then Claire. I started to realize Derek wasn't just cheating. He was living separate lives. Making promises. Telling these women he was leaving me, that Ava wasn't his real daughter, even that I'd cheated on him. He had been telling them I was abusive, that I kept him trapped, that he'd sleep in his car just to get away from me. I couldn't believe it. After 20 years together, he'd turned me into a villain just to chase after women 10 years younger. I asked Sonia if she wanted to talk. She said yes. We met at a coffee shop on South Congress. She looked younger than I expected, maybe 30, tops. She wore her hair in a ponytail and kept fidgeting with her ring. "I'm so sorry," she said right away. "He told me you were crazy, that you'd hacked his accounts. He said your daughter was violent." I felt my stomach turn. "He used to come over," she went on, "and show me bruises on his arm. Said you'd hit him with a lamp." I blinked. "He did that to himself?" She nodded. "He punched a wall one time and said it was from you." I sat there, stunned. He hadn't just lied. He'd built an entire character out of me. A villain. A monster. So he could play the victim. That night, I pulled out the flash drive again. There was more on there I hadn't sent. Audio from our home cameras, messages he didn't know I'd recovered from the cloud. I had everything. So I made a second round of deliveries this time, to the women he'd fooled. Each one got a private link, password protected. I didn't need to say anything else. By the next week, Derek had moved into a hotel. Not the one from graduation. They kicked him out once the front desk got wind of what happened. He called Ava, tried to cry his way back into her heart. She blocked his number. Then he showed up at her dorm. That was the last straw. I called the police. The police didn't arrest him. He hadn't committed a crime, not technically. But Ava filed a formal report and the university banned him from campus. If he stepped foot near her dorm again, they said, he'd be trespassing. Derek tried to spin it, of course. "I just wanted to talk to my daughter. She's still my little girl," he said when I confronted him. But I saw through it. He wasn't there for Ava. He was spiraling, desperate to claw back any piece of the life he used to control. Meanwhile, Sonia reached out again. She wasn't done talking. "I found something," she said. "In his gym bag." We met again, this time at a small diner near the lake. She brought a manila folder, old school, no digital trail. Inside were printed documents, bank statements, credit card bills, airline tickets. To Miami, Phoenix, Las Vegas. Derek had been living another life. And not just with women. He'd opened 2 credit cards under my name. I never noticed because I trusted him to handle the bills. He'd gotten sneaky, P.O. boxes, different billing addresses. Charges were small enough to slip through the cracks. $200 here, $300 there. It added up to over $12,000. I took the folder home, added it to my growing stack of evidence. I made an appointment with a lawyer. When I served Derek the paperwork, he laughed. Really? You're going to drag me through a divorce over a few mistakes? I didn't answer. The look in my eyes must have said enough because he stopped laughing. A few days later, Sonia messaged me again, this time, panicked. Check your front porch, she wrote. I opened the door and found a package wrapped in brown paper, no return address. Inside was a cheap burner phone and a note. You think you've won. But I've still got things you don't know. I called the police again. They couldn't do much. No threats were made directly, they said. It's not a crime to leave a phone. I checked the phone anyway. There were 3 saved videos. All grainy, poorly shot. One was of me, walking to my car from behind. Another was of Ava, coming out of her dorm. The third was of our house, shot from across the street at night. That's when I realized he wasn't spiraling. He was escalating. So I did something I hadn't wanted to do. I called his mother. We hadn't spoken in years. She always took his side, no matter what. But I told her everything. The cheating, the lies, the stalking, the burner phone. She went quiet. Then she said something I'll never forget. You need to know something, she said. Derek, he wasn't like this when he was little. But something changed after college. He got good at hiding things. What do you mean? I asked. He lied about his degree, she said. Told us he graduated. He didn't. Lied about his first job too. Said he was making 6 figures when he was still bartending. He used your money to get started, didn't he? My stomach dropped. I'd worked 2 jobs during the early years of our marriage. Paid for our first house. Paid off his student loans that I now realized might never have existed. She kept talking. He fooled all of us. We thought he was charming. But we didn't see what you saw. Now I had a new layer to the story. It wasn't just betrayal. It was fraud from the beginning. I hired a forensic accountant. What she found made my blood run cold. The accountant dug through everything. She traced money from my parents' old savings account, a joint account we'd used to help Ava with college visits. Derek had taken nearly $8,000 from it, slowly, in pieces, moved into his name. He thought I wouldn't notice because I rarely checked it. Worse, she found he'd used my social security number to open a line of credit for a fake LLC, a business that didn't exist. He listed himself as the CEO, listed me as the co-signer. That was it. I took everything. The burner phone, the stalking videos, the financial fraud, the fake LLC, the identity theft. And I filed a full report with the DA. He was arrested 2 weeks later. Fraud, identity theft, harassment. The police came to the hotel and took him out in handcuffs. I didn't go to watch, but Ava did. She stood across the street and filmed it. She never posted it, just kept it for herself. The trial took months. He tried to plead down, but there was too much evidence. The judge gave him 18 months in state prison, not for the cheating, not for being a terrible father, but for what the system could punish: theft, fraud, threats. It wasn't enough for everything he did to us. But it was something. Here's where my part gets ugly. I wanted to ruin him. And I did. I went public, posted everything. The videos, the messages, even some photos. I blurred the women's faces, but not his. I started with Facebook. Then Reddit. then local forums. I even sent a copy of the video to the gym where he met all those women. His name is banned from there now. I made sure every place he might crawl back to knew exactly who he was. But I went too far. I posted his work history, his resume, even his phone number. People started showing up at his hotel before the arrest. He got harassed, threatened, spit on in public. Strangers shouted "Predator" when he went to the store. I didn't tell them to do that. But I didn't stop them either. When Ava saw what I posted, she pulled away. "Mom," she said, "you're becoming just like him." That hit me hard. Harder than anything Derek ever said. I took down the videos. Took down the posts. Too late, though. The internet doesn't forget. In the end, Derek went to prison. His mother cut ties with him. Ava won't speak to him again. But she also stopped talking to me for a while. She said she needed space. So now I sit in a quiet house. No husband. No daughter. I have peace, sure. But it came at a cost. I wanted revenge, and I got it. Every lie, every woman, every dollar exposed and punished. But in trying to destroy him, I tore up parts of myself too. I'm rebuilding now. Slowly. Ava's talking to me again. She visits some weekends. We don't talk about her father. But every now and then, she'll hold my hand and say, "You didn't deserve what he did." And that's enough. Sometimes, revenge is necessary. But it never leaves you clean. It just leaves you alone and free.